Hello, I'm Kristen Lee. So today we are going to talk about the readathon that I was in and who won and my takeaways from it, how many books I read, all that jazz. So first and foremost, thank you to Hannah Blackwell for just hosting and coming up with the concept and the point system and just being engaged and, you know, having the reading sprints and making time for this really cool thing that you put together. It was a really fun experience for me, and I know a lot of our the people that were playing and the booktubers and stuff like that. We all had a blast. So you did a great job, and I thank you very, very much for letting me be part of it, even though I'm not a team leader. I just move you up a little bit. I just really enjoyed it. And our team leaders, Kristen from Kristen Craves Books, I pretty much love everything that you've suggested in the last, year or so, maybe more. And I know that she had just come off of another type of readathon, and so I don't know if you're experiencing burnout or anything like that, but I hope you had fun, and it was cool to see her little face in the reading sprints and stuff. And I think I missed one of hers because I was traveling, I think, or I was getting ready to travel. I don't know. And anyway, but thank you for the recommendations and just the engagement, and I got to talk to her on Instagram when I would read certain things, and it was really cool. And my other team captain was Daphne from Being Daphne. It was really cool to get to know her and learn her niche in the booktube part of YouTube, and it was really cool, like, to just meet everyone that was involved. And to all of the other team captains or team leaders, you guys did a great job. Like, it was really fun, from the book recommendations to just talking about books to, you know, giving encouragement when people would get stuck and stuff. So I hope we do it again. I loved it. And then Hannah, that was the other thing. I'll talk about that later, actually. But you probably want to know who won, right? So the pirate team won. But I wanted to give you some of the stats, which were really, really cool. So there were 481 people playing in this readathon. And the number of books that we all read between all of us was 4,219 books. Like, that in a month. That is insane. Out of the 4,219 books, I read 20. And I'll talk about my takeaways in a minute. But the pirate team, they won in first place with 329 points per person in, overall. And there were so many pirate books. I mean, I had 2 on my TBR that I didn't get to. And I think I read 3 separate. I don't remember. But anyway, so second place was Merfolk. They had 253 points per person. And third place was Dragons with 244 points per person. And fourth was our team, Jen, which was 240 points per person. But considering we were the smallest of all the groups, and the Jen books, like, they were thick. I read the Gollum and the Ginny, and it was a thick book, and it was a long audio book. So, and we went through a lot. So, I think it's awesome that we did that. Congratulations, everyone. I'm dropping stuff. Trying to think. Oh, I don't want to do that in case I drive somebody nuts. Having one of my anxious days, but I have medical stuff coming, and I've been holding off on this video for, I think we got it a week ago, right before 4th of July. We got the results, and I wanted to show how appreciative I was to just be a part of it and watch it all happen and be a spectator, but also playing. And also challenging myself to see just what I could do. And it's not a bragging thing, it's just I've always been a voracious reader, and I fell out of it when I moved out to California. So the fact that I'm getting that part of me back is like a chunk that I was missing. So these kind of things help me get part of myself back, if that makes sense. So, where do I want to go? Do I want to talk about my books, or I'll talk about the challenges. There are 2 challenges, and you got extra points. You got 100 points per challenge. The first one was to make the island of the picture that Hannah had created for the readathon. And people got creative. There were people that had like red tissue paper coming out to look like lava. A lot of people that had dragon books, like the dragon book was on top, so it was like coming out of the volcano. And this one was mine. And it was a lot of fun. And because we didn't know what she had up her sleeve. And the second challenge was to create something with your ally on it. So our ally was the Team Dragons, and this is what I did. I colored. Oh, this is my cheat sheet. But there were people doing cosplay. My friend Bunny Cakes did cosplay. There were some people that were dressed up as pirates or used like pirate photos from like Halloween. There were some beautiful art, like works of art. It was just a lot of fun. It was really cool to see what everybody would come up with, and I think at that point we were just like, this is just really cool to see what people are into and what they can come up with in a couple of days, kind of thing. So that was fun. And then I read, I'm going to have to do pictures because I have a lot of the physical books, but I did not want to carry them all down. So I read 1, 2, 3, 4 Jinn books. My favorite out of all of them was Jinn from the Jinn Rebellion series. It's like a post-apocalyptic book, and basically everything that was in folklore decided to come out and, share that they've been living amongst humans for generations and everything, and the humans just lose it and they decide to nuke everything. So this is like after all of that happens and there's this huge war. It was really good. So I like that. Spice Road was okay. I'm trying to think. The Golem and the Jinny was a cool concept, but I don't know whether I was just getting burnt out by the time I read it, because I read it towards the end of the month, and it was a thick, chunky book, and I immersion read it, and it just, the only thing that I didn't like about it is that it would cut scene. You'd be in the middle of something, and then it would bring you back into the past where there was no warning. It just flashbacked. And I was like, okay, thanks. No warning, no nothing. oh, Mira, Grant, and I are gonna become friends. Like, I read my first book of the month. I read Rolling in the Deep, and I think I have Drowning in the Deep. I think that's the next one. It was the coolest book I've ever read, and it's about mermaids. And I read a few books this month that had like science versus folklore, or things that we don't think are real, or we try and like make it so that there's a scientific reason why something's happening. And Rolling in the Deep was this scientific group gets together because a reality TV show wants to go find mermaids, and they're one of those nerdy types of shows where they go and they find UFOs and Yetis and things like that. So this episode or whatever was going to be about mermaids, and they hire a scientific team, and one person does like algae, and other one is like deep sea sharks and fish and stuff, and that's their expertise. And there's there's like a host, and there's a videographer, and the whole nine, right? And you find out that there are other people on the ship that you're not supposed to know about, because it's part of the show. And so they're not really supposed to know about each other and everything. And they get to, I think it was like the Bermuda Triangle area, but it's an area where a lot of the merfolk folklore stems from. And it starts with, they put a one of those globes with the video cam on it to watch like deep sea sharks and stuff like that. It goes down into the water, and it's taking samples of stuff, and it finds something, and it hurts that thing, and it just becomes chaos after that. And it's very like, it has spooky vibes. It was fantastic. So I listened to it, and I cannot wait to start the next one. I just got it in my Libby app yesterday, I think. But I can't wait to start it because it was really good. Tiffany D. Jackson she did, the book I read was White Smoke. I was given a couple recommendations of hers to read after that because I really liked that book. It was about rehabbing and redesigning places that poverty has hit, or there were raids or whatever. And in this case, there was like a huge fire from riots, and developers are coming in to just redo the entire area. And this family thinks they won a free house, and they move into this house, and it's haunted. And it talks about racism. It talks about basically first world problems, whether you're poor or you're really, really poor kind of thing. It was really well done, and it was pretty spooky because I was kind of on edge trying to figure out if the house was really haunted or if it was being staged. And it kept me on edge. It was really good. Pat was really good. I don't even go in blind. It's worth it. It's a very little book, but there's a lot in it, and it's beautifully written. I'm not even gonna do my takeaways because I just loved it. Now I have to get better. I got my iPad. Sorry. Fable was fantastic. That was from my book haul, and I bought it on a whim. Absolutely loved it. Bought the prequel, Saint, read that, and now I have to read namesake, but love Fable. She was fantastic. Happy Place was not where it was at for me. I don't know what happened with Emily Henry, but out of the 3 books that I've read by her, it was my least favorite. I can't pinpoint what I didn't like about it. I just didn't like it. House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher was fabulous. It was so good. This woman is I'm trying to think. She's an archaeoentomologist. I would have never got that in a million years. Put it here so that I don't look like a total idiot. But she's the one that goes and finds the bugs and, the levels of sediment at a geological dig kind of thing. And she makes a joke about she's the person that finds like the fossils with mosquitoes and stuff like that from Jurassic Park. She makes a joke about that in the book, but that's her job, is to figure out the timeline and what bugs lived in that timeline and stuff like that. Well, she gets laid off from a site because they actually found bones, and anytime you find real human remains, you have to stop the site and you have to get the FBI and everything involved. So she is out of a job, and her brother calls and says, "Hey, Mom's not doing so good. If you got some time, can you go stay with Mom?" And she goes and she lives with her mom in the house that she grew up with that used to belong to her grandmother, and she's using her scientific brain to figure out why things are happening in the house. And it was such a good book. Like there's a witch down the street that is into witchcraft, and I don't know if she's pagan, I can't remember, but she goes to her because there's these huge vultures just chilling around. It was crazy. It was a really good book. So if you're into spooky stuff, pick that one up. And then my favorite book of the month was The House on the Cerulean Sea. That one I suggest you go in blind too. It was such a pretty book. It was so nice. I don't want to give anything away, but it's given, the point of view is by a social worker, and his job is to go to orphanages and see whether or not they need to be shut down or if there's something that needs to be done. And he ends up going to this place on the Cerulean Sea, is it called the Cerulean Sea? See, that's why reading that many books is not a good idea, because some of the books were a lot like each other. But it's basically isolated, and the company that he works for is that healthy for kids to be so isolated from society? And he goes and he meets the kids and his interaction with the kids, and it was such a good book. So that is everything. I'm gonna try and stop it at 20 minutes. Hopefully I didn't stumble too long, and I'm totally in if we do another one. And yeah, so I hope you're having a great weekend. I'm going to say goodbye to Treasure Island. And next time you see me, it'll be a new background and a new month. See you in the next one. Bye.